This is episode number 6 of Phil Graham. Welcome to the Grow Podcast with myself, David O'Connor, where my goal is to interview world-class guests so you can constantly progress as a person in terms of your training, your mindset and nutrition. So without further ado, let's dive in. How are we keeping, guys? And a big welcome back to the Grow Podcast. And today I have none other than Phil Graham on the show. And I suppose when life throws you a big curveball at the age of 16 being diagnosed with diabetes, it all depends on how you react from there. And to say that Phil has a few lessons from that throughout his life is an understatement, to say the least, because he's led on the career then of becoming a leading body composition coach, personal trainer, performance nutritionist, and he's been doing that for the last 12 years. But more recently now, he's given back to the industry and he's educating personal trainers. He's a public speaker, recently published author, and he's a podcast host as well, which we'll get into at the end of the show. But today is mainly based on Phil's lessons from living with type 1 in terms of training, nutrition and life lessons in general. So there's a lot of those intertwined throughout the podcast. And then we'll talk about things like, does Phil get bad days? And if he does, how does he handle those? What is his daily structure like, his daily routine? Phil's guidelines in for getting big, packing a muscle, and what he looks at for that. And as I said, there's a lot more in there as well in terms of small little takeaways you can incorporate. But I just want to make you aware, I think it's about 6 or 7 minutes in, there's a bit of a crackling noise. Again, it goes away, don't worry about it, but just to make you aware if you're wondering. And without further ado, I'm going to shut up and we'll get Phil on the show. So Phil, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, big man. I hope you're good.
All's good over here, and it's my pleasure, Phil, because I've been actually meaning to get you on for a while now since we briefly met back in 2015, I think it was. And Phil, I've actually been following you ever since, and I suppose I know a lot about you, but a lot of people listening probably don't or may not have heard of you yet. So I suppose the best thing to kind of kick things off, Phil, is just you're in the fitness industry now, but why are you here, we'll say? Like, what is your story, if you like? What is your background?
Yeah, I've got a pretty interesting and compelling story behind me and as to why I got into all this fitness madness. But basically it goes back to whenever I was 16 and I was overweight, bad lifestyle, stressed out. Typical teenage kid that played too many video games, didn't move enough, and I'll cut a long story short, I basically was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes overnight. So the fact that I had my health taken away from me and I had a marked choice to control that through medication and lifestyle, diet, nutrition, training, automatically gave me a massive level of motivation to go in and look at all the elements that imposed healthy living, and I became obsessed with studying about it. I went on to further my education after school and university and studied nutrition, clinical nutrition, food production, human physiology, and a whole host of very interesting subjects collectively under a nutrition degree. Went on to do a postgraduate in public health. Went on to do various different things with sports nutrition, including working with the International Society of Sports Nutrition, who I've now lectured for. And on top of that, basically taking up, as many of you may know or not know, a profound love of bodybuilding. And that was my platform for demonstrating and experimenting and trial testing all the information and knowledge that I acquired. And I collectively used all of that together to combat and control my diabetes. So I had a massive underlying level of motivation to train and look good and eat well. And that was because of diabetes. So I basically looked at it as adversity in disguise. And, I love what I do now. I have retired from my personal training career after university. I actually went and worked in the health service for a bit. And then I was being asked by so many people to train them and give advice that I actually left that and set up my own personal training business. And it's, 2017 now. I've left that officially as of probably around about 5 months ago. I hit the personal training on the head, and as you know, I've had a much greater role in education and empowering other fitness professionals with their trade. So from working with the public to now working to coaches, it's been a massive shift. And, I've been able to achieve quite a lot over those years in terms of bodybuilding titles and, speaking at major events. I've actually just recently published a book on diabetes in October last year, and we've sold just over 6,000 copies of that now, and it's impacting and helping change the lives of thousands of people all over the world. I mean, I woke up to an email yesterday from a guy who's just out of prison in Texas who's read the book and is type 1 diabetic, and he said it changed his life and he's learned so much from it. And yeah, there's a lot of super interesting stuff going on now and stuff in the pipeline. We're working on a diabetic type 1 lifting or strength training membership site. There's a whole host of things going on. So I play a pretty active role within the fitness industry in terms of educating fitness professionals and also in the diabetic community now as well, helping a lot of people improve the quality of their lives just through really good quality evidence-based and also practically applied and trial-tested information. So I suppose I come across, as many of you who follow me already know, as quite balanced, but I try to make things as contextual as I can and always try to refer to evidence-based whenever it's there. Even if it's not there, I'll not make any firm assumptions about something. So I like to be nice and balanced in my arguments, which is a skill that is often forgotten about or neglected in the fitness industry, where we have individual camps that completely obsess over one form of diet, one form of training, and people forget the main deal of the picture, and that is to improve the quality of the population's health. So, I always try to look at it from both sides of the coin, and, it's a real interesting career that I have, and I love it, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
Congratulations, filling those 6,000 copies sold. That's insane. Whoa.
Thank you very much.
And you've already kind of mentioned it, Phil, but it's like a little challenge I have for anybody who's on the podcast is you've gone away from the personal training kind of coaching realm now to where you're at now. But if you were to say to somebody in 10 seconds or less, how would you describe what you do?
I impact people's lives for the better that are within the fitness industry and that live with diabetes.
Cool. Okay. A few things you brought up there, Phil, just around set even more context, and it's probably something I should have brought up in earlier episodes as well, but this word evidence-based, it's fine for me and you because we understand what that means, and we look into the research and yada yada, and like a lot of people looking from the outside in, they don't really care. But now these days, if somebody puts the word evidence-based in front of something, people that don't know any better think, oh, this guy must know what he's talking about, or people can be led astray with different things as well. But I suppose, what do you mean by evidence-based?
Well, we look at evidence-based, I mean, obviously the particular question or area of interest has had a fair test to test it against particular variables that has allowed us to then make a decision whether we can trust it or not trust it with a degree of certainty or doubt. It's not an all yes or no. It's, as I said, more so certainty or doubt. How significantly can we trust this, and how significantly can we doubt this? So as long as something's been put through a fair and accurate test and other variables have been taken out or taken into consideration, it really makes something a lot more, how could I put it, like a foundation to work off and to craft an individual approach from and tweak to personal circumstances. So that's generally how I see it. Most people will go by tradition or old school way, or this is how we used to do it, or this is how everyone does it, and they take out so many different aspects that is, responsible for promoting a result. So in the fitness industry, for example, we would see particular individuals claiming that a certain way to eat, a certain way to train is the best way. The best shaped guy in the gym used this approach, and therefore it must be valid. However, what a lot of people don't take into account is, one, the training age for someone; two, the fact that they've maybe been using chemical assistance; three, the fact that they maybe are genetically gifted 4, the fact they're maybe self-employed and have all the time in the world to train. 5, the fact they maybe train in a gym that's super kitted out. 6, the fact they've had probably quality coaching for a long period of time. There's a whole of different interconnected factors. And, if you can strip that down and work with an approach that accounts for somebody who is natural, for somebody who has bog standard genetics, and we're training them from an optimal perspective, the best that we can, then most certainly we can fine-tune that approach to something else. So there's so much stuff that we can look into with evidence-based, but the problem is a lot of people just look at their source of information with a pinch of salt, and they don't really question the quality of it, where the information has come from, would it apply to me, what am I overlooking, what am I not overlooking, etc. So, these things are pretty important. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%. No, it provides a nice bit of context as well for people listening, because they might hear this word a lot, especially in this podcast as well. So thank you for that, Phil. Okay, so Phil, from leading on from that, I suppose there's a whole different realm of areas we could go down with this question, but I suppose we'll just talk about general life lessons first, really, because that kind of provides a bit of context behind things, as well as, like, you've already kind of mentioned your love for the nutritional side of things and how that spurred you down that route, but what would be the main lessons from living with type 1?
Okay, the main lessons that I've taken from type 1, and these aren't just from a nutritional perspective, but general life perspective, and I'll try and tie in health and fitness as well. So for all of you individuals that don't suffer with diabetes, that you get some context to it. And that would be the devil's in the details. If you can track and measure a particular variable in your life or business, then you are going to be able to decide whether or not what you're doing is worthwhile or it needs to change. That's a massive, massive aspect of diabetes management, to observe and measure your control and to be able to respond appropriately with the correct interventions or tactics that you need to make things better. 2 would also be acceptance, and that's a massive thing. I had to accept that I had type 1 diabetes, there wasn't a cure for it, and I had to adapt my ways and means to live with it. So the same would apply to day-to-day life. Whatever it is you're going through, just accept it. Sometimes you have to surrender to it and just let life take its path and trust it. And, if I had rejected diabetes and hadn't fallen in love with fitness and nutrition, I wouldn't be having this call with you today. So I have to look at things like that. 3rd, coming from living with diabetes, is the quality of the fuel that you consume. The bulk of your diet must come from good quality, wholesome food that really, really packs a lot of nutrients and punch. The fact that I have diabetes means that my body's under significantly more stress than in normal individuals. And as a result, I'm much more likely to have nutrient deficiencies. And as such, I want the bulk of my diet coming from foods that provide high quality foods. So that's a massive, massive, massive thing. Massive. So yeah, there's some very, very simple things, but if you want me to elaborate on anything more, please do.
Yeah, I think the acceptance is a massive one. And it's something that people, I suppose, it's come to terms with reality, it's come to terms with what's in front of you and how you're going to react and deal with that, because, so many people are, something happens in their day, something happens in their week, something happens with their nutrition or their training plan. It pushes them off track a lot. And one thing that I ask my listeners as well is, do you have any questions main questions for Phil? And the biggest one they wanted to ask was your daily structure, your weekly structure, and what happens if you had a bad day or, a bad week, whatever it might be for you, and how you deal with that, cope with that, if you like, and move on from it. So maybe, Phil, even for myself, like, what would a typical day look like you in terms of how strict, or how, I don't even want to say that word, maybe it's the wrong word to use, but maybe how structured your day needs to be for yourself?
Yeah, well, definitely when you say structured and strict, both have to apply if I want to get particular things done. I can't be loose, or I can't be lackadaisical with my behaviour if I want to achieve first-class results. So the word strict is fully applicable. And secondly as well, you talked there about bad weeks, bad days. Yes, I have bad days like everyone else, but the very minute that I realise that I'm having a bad day, I go, right, from this minute onwards, what can I do? And sometimes it's okay to completely just burn everything down and just go, you know what, I'll look at it tomorrow. And I think now in the fitness industry and with modern day life that a lot of people aren't willing to do that because they see it as failure. But it's very important to, sometimes just take a break, take one step back so you can take 2 steps forward. Now, in terms of structure for the day, we'll take today, for example, and today is quite similar to many other days. I got up at 5:30 this morning. I have a cold shower first thing in the morning. After my cold shower, I go down and I put on some coffee. And I literally sit and I'll either meditate or I will journal for a set period of time. And during that particular time, when I'm meditating, that could be basically sitting doing transcendental meditation or using something like Headspace. Or what I'll do is I'll go for a walk and I'll just have a think. It depends on what my energy's like, what my mood is like. And then also after that, I will have my coffee and I'll journal and I'll read for a little bit. I probably spend an hour and a half on myself every single morning before I start my day. I don't think that 10 minutes, 15 minutes sometimes is enough. And then I really need to prep my mind and know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm working towards, my goals, that I'm in line with them, and I identify anything that's holding me back. And again, that self-awareness and self-discipline to do that is a very important skill. Then what I'll do, as I said today, is I kick into usually emails first. I prioritize my day on a 1, 2, 3, so I write out everything that I need to do, and then I put a 1 beside the most important stuff, a 2 beside the semi-important, a 3 beside the non-important, non-rush stuff, and I basically work through 1s to 3s. And I'll work flat out for set periods of time. I like to put a timer on, and I like to game the system and work like that. And then I will take periodic breaks to eat or to have more coffee. I don't normally eat until about 1 o'clock during the day. So I fast from when waking, and I find I work great like that. Also as well, at the moment, I'm trying to lose a little bit of body fat. I'm getting back into my training, and my calorie window is more compressed. So yes, I am a massive fan of the intermittent fasting style approach. It works beautifully for me. It's also really, really good for my diabetes management and really helps keep my blood glucose levels in range. Then what will happen is I will normally train around about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I have my own gym in my house. I'm fortunate enough to have that. And I will train away and exercise. And then after that, I usually... tonight actually we're going out for food. I like to eat out a lot. I'm massive into my cooking, massive into my food, and I eat out twice a week, and that's a massive asset that I love in my life. I look forward to going out to really nice restaurants where I know the chef, I know where the food has come from, and it's the experience that I'm buying, and I fit those calories within my overall calorie and energy goals. And we'll normally dine around about, say, 8 o'clock or so. And again, with the meal, it'll be something like steak or mashed potatoes or something like that. And just a good quality meal. And I'll maybe have a glass of wine with that. And then I will bring my wife out. We'll have some quality time together. That's her time. It's my time. We don't bring phones with us as much as we used to. We still bring them the odd time because I have to do the odd Insta story of some food that I put up. And I'm sure you've seen a number of meals now, I'm sure. And then we'll either go to the cinema or we'll head home and again either just read or watch a movie. We don't really watch TV or anything like that, to be honest. But that's been pretty much it. There's loads of other things that will change if I'm doing a seminar. I do a lot of seminars, and they're usually at the weekend. And I'll prep for those during the week, so it depends on what I'm working on during the week, but there's a lot of very interesting things going on, from general fitness stuff. I'm actually writing a new book on the business of personal training, and the Diabetes Project, and a whole host of stuff. And I'm massive as well into taking some time out during the day to read and learn. I also consider that part of my working day as well. Like yourself, if you were to sit down and read over a nutrition manual or a piece of research, you're educating yourself to be able to deliver a better service. So, all of those things are very important parts of my day. I like to travel a lot, so I'll sometimes book spontaneous trips away, city breaks and stuff like that. I do sort of now have the laptop lifestyle, so to speak, so I can pretty much work anywhere I want in the world at my own pace, but I'm very driven and passionate to work. I don't really see it as work. It's, it's my purpose, and that is, again, impacting as many people as I can from a diabetic perspective, and also as well from a fitness professional's perspective too. So, I have very, very strong beliefs to bringing high quality information to the table in the fitness industry, because I came from, an age where I wasn't following the most up-to-date and accurate advice at the time. And, I can link to so many mistakes that I've made that I don't want other people to make, and how much time that it took up and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm very passionate about getting a good quality message across that really helps make people more efficient and effective with their fitness efforts.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I suppose, Phil, one thing we were chatting about before we got on air as well was during a recent podcast you've done with Daniel Lennon from Sigma Nutrition Radio, you talked about just the intricacies, I suppose, of type 1 and type 2, and kind of the more in detail stuff in relation to that. So I just want to make it clear, if anybody wants to find out more or in depth with that, I'll put the link in the show notes for that episode between yourself and Danny as well, and obviously all your other links, Phil, and whatnot. But I suppose one thing from that, Phil, I want to kind of get from you as well is the nutritional side of your day. Like, is it as strict as I think it needs to be for you, if that makes sense? Like, how can that be translated over then into, let's say, the 35-year-old male who hasn't done a tap since he was 25 because he's had 3 kids, and now he needs to get back in structure, but his nutrition throughout the day is literally chicken rolls and bottles of Lucozade, and he needs more structure. The way I look at things, if you can do it and beat that with, say, plan going ahead, there's definitely a lot of takeaways for everyone there, what they can incorporate into their days as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, the basic answer to that is no. They can't with their nutritional approach. They need to be very, very tight with it. If you're newly diagnosed with diabetes, your blood glucose level is open to so much variation. And, yes, while strategies like if it fits your macros can work for individuals with diabetes, and I do tend to eat I don't like to use the word IFFYM, but I do tend to manipulate my calories in favor of certain foods sometimes. That with a newly diagnosed diabetic client or individual is not appropriate in my eyes, purely because it wreaks more variables or more havoc with the variables needed to control blood glucose. And the whole point of diabetes management is to control blood glucose levels. So if you're consuming foods that are very quickly absorbed and spike blood glucose levels very fast, then you need to be knowledgeable enough to know how to react and respond appropriately with the right amount of medication. So that's a big, big factor, and I think that you just make your life a lot easier if you use foods that are relatively, easily absorbed, like lower glycemic carbohydrates. You combine them with proteins and whole minimally processed food that is actually quite clean and easy to digest, compared to the likes of a big pizza or burger or fries, because we know that trans fats and the whole combination of a lot of artificial elements within modern fast day food can conflict with insulin sensitivity, and there's a whole host of factors that we'll not get into in this podcast, but generally speaking, that should come at a later stage when the individual has mastered diabetic control, understands calorie balance, understands energy balance, and is able to know their body well enough to know exactly how much insulin to take at a particular day and time when consuming food. And I mean, not many people are like me in the sense that they understand what's actually going on with their body. Not many people are like me in the sense that they understand diabetes, the drugs, the effects of different foods. I know my body inside out. I've spent a long time researching it. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. And I think, as well, like if people do want to find out more about that, again, I'll send them back to Danny's podcast, because as well, one thing that I took away from that podcast, which you said, Phil, was that not many people are willing to put the time in, which is in relation to precision and tracking, and the money needed nor have the education knowing how to react. And that was kind of in relation to fine-tuning calorie intake to the needs of fat loss and whatnot. But I suppose, as I said again, you've covered that in detail in Danny's podcast. I probably should have worded my question a bit better. What I'm getting at, Phil, is very, very basic planning tips ahead for, let's keep it just nutritional based. You obviously have to be strict, and you have to be prepared and whatnot. Okay.
Well, for me, the most important thing is knowing that I'm consuming enough calories to fuel my exercise, fuel my recovery, fuel my day-to-day tasks. I'm getting food that's enjoyable, that's tasty, that's in line with my personal taste preferences. I'm getting enough food in that helps me control my diabetes easily enough. It doesn't cause massive havoc. That it's unpredictable. So, for example, if I was to consume a food that I wouldn't consume regularly, like pizza, for example, I know that the blood glucose response of that is going to be extremely sporadic. I'm not going to be able to predict it because I don't eat that food quite frequently. And there's so many other factors that come behind the scenes when it comes to diabetes management, like stress, alcohol, caffeine consumption, strength training versus low intensity training. There's a whole host of elements that affect how quickly food is absorbed and how much insulin to take. But other than that, how frequently I've trained is also a factor, and my protein needs, my essential fatty acid needs, my fiber needs. All of these things need to be considered.
Okay. And if we were to kind of put that into somebody then who doesn't have, let's say, any diabetic issues or anything like that, into structuring their day in terms of prepping the most basic stuff that we know kind of in our sleep now, Phil, is prepping food. I suppose that's really what I'm asking, really, isn't it? Yeah. But I suppose, what would be some simple takeaways or maybe guidelines you kind of say to people, maybe try doing your food on this day or working it this way, and so you can be prepped for this, and this. Very, very simplistic stuff. Like, usually we recommend people to do a bit of a bulk cook on a Sunday and a Wednesday, and then that leaves them a bit more prepared for the week. Just kind of, I suppose, lessons that you've learned from being prepared in advance and how we can tie them into the everyday person, if that makes sense.
Okay, what's this in terms of just general?
Just general, yeah.
General nutrition tips. Let me see.
Just because I felt that just from your experience and just coaching people, maybe there's different ways. And obviously, it depends on the person, depends on their lifestyle, depends on their job and whatnot. But I think it's nice to hear it from yourself in terms of, right, how can we prep food, a good way across the week?
Food environment is very important. So making sure that your food environment is shaped appropriately towards your goals. A lot of us will eat out of boredom. A lot of us will eat for comfort emotionally. And again, making sure that there is minimal food around the house that's going to potentially promote that. Alcohol consumption coming in from a night out. Again, making sure that there's minimal threat around the house or environment that's going to cause us to overeat or overconsume calories. And again, this is highly specific to the goal. But if I'm working with someone who's in contest prep or whose wage relies on how good they look, then they have to go the extra mile with everything that accompanies supporting energy balance and things like that. Those things are very, very, very important. Environment, especially, and the use of technology and stuff like that nowadays. MyFitnessPal, again, a lot of people overuse these kinds of apps and don't realize that they're not 100% accurate, and can in fact over or under log their nutrition and calorie intake. So, Those things are important to consider. But yeah, anything else in that you want me to cover?
No, I think what I've learned from that is I need to get better at asking questions. I think I confused this Bob with it. But no, Phil, it's just to kind of trying to dig things out of you, that stuff that people mightn't be aware of, or even small little things and your viewpoints and different stuff. Like even the word minimal threat is it's a big revelation in my head, because I would have looked at it in a different way and used different wordings for that. So it's nice to get that perspective shift from that. But Phil, we were chatting on air beforehand as well, and what we're going to dive into from here was kind of look at the main lessons from living with type 1 and how that has kind of structured things for you. And then from there, I want to talk about the next thing that you're brilliant at, which is packing on some muscle. And just like, where the hell do we start with somebody who wants to build muscle and get a bit bigger?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can answer that in a very, very simple question, and or a very simple answer, and that is, if you want to get good at something, what have you got to do? More of it. So we need good quality, frequent practice at activities that are going to promote muscle gain. So does that mean strength train as much as you can? Yes, that's a simple answer. However, there is a threshold as to what you can recover from. So the main goal for somebody who wants to pack on muscle tissue fast is to strength train as frequently as their body allows them to, as their body and mind allows them to. And again, looking out for the key signs of overreaching, as in overdoing it, and you will identify that through lack of motivation, sore joints, prolonged direct onset of muscle soreness, upper respiratory tract infections, weakness in strength, loss of appetite, depression. All of those markers are signs that you're overdoing it. You need to back off. And overdoing it may not just be from the weight room, but weight training is a stress in itself. But if you've got a lot of other stuff going on, emotional, illness, disease, lack of nutrition, lack of hydration, lack of sleep, diabetes that's uncontrolled, then you're going to have issues. Secondly, other things to consider is that we need to look at training across a wide variety of rep schemes. We've got to build a foundational strength base with good quality 3 to 5 rep schemes. I'm not massive into going into singles and stuff like that, but 3 to 5s, periodized training of strength training, and then mixing that up with hypertrophy training, where the rep ranges go from 6 to 15, 25, and again across a wide variety of exercises that stimulate the muscle tissue from different angles, but are all grounded on the principles of push, pull, hip hinge, weighted carry, squat, and those things are pretty darn important. And learning to look after your mobility and respect that as well. That's a massive factor that so many people overlook. Make sure you're foam rolling, you're stretching outside of your training, you maybe get some myofascial release work, and there's tons of stuff. So, these are all things to consider.
And Phil, if somebody wasn't, let's just say it could be a 25-year-old who is genuinely more interested in getting bigger overall, and he wants a proper size, but he's training. Let's just say he's training 3 times a week, and he's doing his strength rep ranges of 3 to 5 reps, you could say. Then he's doing the hypertrophy rep range, and he does his variety of exercises in there. But he's not making progress. Where would you troubleshoot from there? What would be the next step to say, right, we need to look at this and then do this?
Yeah, the first thing is 3 days is nowhere near enough. You're going to double your gains if you're going to go to 6 days. But again, you have to ask yourself reasonably, can I recover from this? Am I sleeping enough? Have I got enough stuff going on? All of this stuff is important, if you're not sleeping, you're not eating enough calories, you're not, doing enough stuff, you're not going to respond appropriately.
And calories, I think, is a main player as well, and one thing, along with the food side of it and training side of it as well. It's usually, you're probably the same, Phil. I might get guys onto me that want to just quote unquote, I want to get lean and I want to get big, but then when you look at the things that their body fat levels are just too high. And I think it's just the reality of settling where, right, first when you pull those levels down maybe a small bit, and then build the foundation from there. That's the way I like to look at it anyway. It all depends on the individual, of course. Yeah, would you have a similar approach to that, Phil, or would you look at things differently?
Well, generally, when individuals don't know how to adjust, that's usually a result of impatience and rushing things. You adjust in a masculine phase or a phase where you're trying to pack on muscular weight whenever your strength dips, your appetite increases, or your body weight stops rising. You have to connect those factors. If strength is going up, it's showing that you're recovering and that you're building tissue. If strength is going down, you're under recovering or you're losing muscle mass. And again, you have to look at the discrepancies in that strength loss. If they're extreme, then you've definitely lost muscle. If they're just small, it might just be fatigue. It might just be you need more rest. Other things that you also need to consider as well are things like, body weight. Is your body weight going up? Is it going up too fast? Is it going up too slow? Is it staying the same? But again, if your body weight's staying the same, your strength's going up, then it's a sign you're putting on lean muscle mass. And there will come a point whenever it plateaus. Is your body weight going up really well and your strength going up really well? Yes, but you might be getting too much body fat. So it's simply a matter of working back and forth between the variables and looking for the disconnect. An optimal state of play would be to have an increase in muscle mass by an increase in strength, weight maintenance, and a general overall improvement in mood. That would be lean, good quality tissue gain. So yeah, those are pretty damn important.
Okay, cool. And would you have any body fat rough targets you may go by? I know we go by rough targets for our guys here, in terms of if they're getting to a certain level where they're going the higher level scale of body fat, maybe it's time to say, right, we need to go into a maintenance phase, maybe a small bit of a fat loss phase before we can go back into again. Like, do you work off any targets like that, Phil? Or?
As simple as this: can you show your abs in front of the mirror? If the answer is no, then you're not lean enough. Simple as that. But you don't need to get to body fat percentages and stuff like that. That's just crazy. It's not fast enough and it's open to inaccuracies. Lift your top up. Have you got a good quality set of abs? Would you be comfortable with your top off? The answer is a clear yes or no. If the answer is no, then you need to cut. And I'm not a firm believer in, big bulks where you literally bulk up to the point where, you get massive and you get slow and you get sluggish. Nah. You need to look the part year round. You need to look athletic. You need to look lean. You need to look sharp, And if you don't look sharp and if you don't feel your best because of that, and that's one of the main, why do most people train? They train to look better. Think about that. They train to look better. So if you don't look better and you're struggling, with your emotions because you're fed up of, holding too much body fat or you can't comfortably take your top off, then, you're defeating the purpose of bodybuilding. You're defeating the purpose of strength gain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I love the fact that you've said that as well, because it's something that we try and drill home here. Like, we don't actually take body fat or anything like that, unless we had a DEXA scan machine. Can you show your abs?
Not many people have access to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but we get people, Phil, that they don't need to check body fat for a long time, but it's ingrained from old trainers. They got their body fats checked every week, and we're like, every week, it's just insane stuff. But again, yeah, look, can you see your abs? If not, maybe it's time to drop a bit of fat, and as you said, to feel and look better year round.
Yeah, I mean, a DEXA scan machine would certainly be interesting, but not everyone has access to that stuff. So, if I had a DEXA scan machine, I'd be using it every week. But I don't have access to that. So, again, you got to rule in expense and stuff too. That's all part of adherence. And a lot of people don't understand that too. You have to bear that in mind.
And Phil, I suppose I'm going to take a bit of a random turn. I'm going to ask you something you probably haven't been asked in a while or before. I'm not sure, but if you weren't in the fitness industry, so we're going away talking about muscle gain stuff, what would you like to give a shot to? Like, what would you like to try out if you weren't where you are now?
Very good question. Very good. You got me. Let me see. To be honest, you can laugh at this, but I actually had a massive love for BMXing, the riding. I used to ride to quite a high level, and it really does get me in my what we call state of excellence, if that's what you could call it. I love that, and it's something that I would probably do as a pastime. I don't know if I'd make a business out of it, but that and fishing, I'm massively into my fishing, massively. There's just so much that, I don't regret anything or where I'm at right now or anything like that. So, it would probably be either riding BMX or it would be fishing as a pastime. Career-wise, I don't quite know. Probably psychology. Psychology always interested me, and I wanted to be a clinical psychologist before I, thought about dietetics and nutrition and stuff. So, these things were all ideas. They were all came across my mind at one time. What about yourself?
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I actually started out being qualified from college as a secondary school design and communication graphics and woodwork teacher. So basically like construction studies in school. And I taught in University of Limerick for a year after I graduated as a teaching assistant, and it was that summer that things just literally changed and I opened up Doc Fitness. So I do have a love for making stuff with my hands, even small little things like fixing the local lads hurling club, fixing the local lads hurls if they're breaking, stuff like that. And but I think it's more of a love for a hobby than making a career out of it though. But from that then as well, Phil, though, like the teaching is there, like the teaching aspect, the education aspect was there from the teaching, which was carried over massively into Doc Fitness, obviously. Like, so I don't think that like I've gone completely away from teaching or anything like that. I see it as the same nearly thing, but
I was actually in Dublin this weekend. We had a great seminar in Malahide, and it was a real nice crowd. It was excellent. I love getting up to that part of the world. Malahide's a beautiful place, so. It's all good. So,
And do you have a BMX bike right now?
I do actually, yeah. But I need to get the tires pumped up and probably a new suspension put on it. But I actually bought a mountain bike the other day, a new mountain bike. So stay tuned for some extreme biking coming up. But I think it's very important to have hobbies in different, things as well. But you always have one love. But
definitely.
Yeah.
No, it just shows people you're human too. Like, it's people looking from the outside in. If they see people that looking big and looking shredded or whatever it is, and they think that they can't approach them because they're too afraid to. Even in the past, like I would have been like that with myself. So it's nice to show people that you're actually fucking human, like, and you do proper things at the end of the day. It's not all just training and nutrition,
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
And Phil, one thing that I wanted to kind of ask earlier, but these questions are coming randomly as hell. But any pet peeves in the industry? Any pet hates you don't like seeing from, I suppose, the industry as a whole? What would you make people aware of? I'd say.
Quite a lot, but be here all day. But you know what? I'm not actually going to complain about that because I'm trying to make the place a better place. But I think that the industry, the taxi knowledge, and let me elaborate on what taxi knowledge means. So, for example, you go and travel and you are in the back of a taxi and you're driving through an area, and that particular area is somewhere where you've never been before, and the taxi driver is telling you about the area, what happened there, some of the culture, and you leave the taxi with a little bit of knowledge. And then at the next dinner party, you get on like you're the tourist guide, and you let on like you know an awful lot about this area, yet you just pass through it in the taxi. The fitness industry is like that. When people read articles, especially personal trainers, when they go on one seminar, and all of a sudden they're an expert. And they back that up with client results, and they back that up with their insecurities, and they turn it basically into an ego measuring contest. And the industry is full of so many egos that are trying to stand out and be the best. They neglect the true aspects of coaching and the reason why they do what they do, and that is to improve the quality of people's lives. If every personal trainer actually stopped for a second and realized that their main focus should be to add as much value and help improve as many people's lives as possible, rather than come across as the big dick on social media, they would be a lot more successful, have a lot clearer minds, and be able to generate a lot more income and self-respect for themselves, instead of diluting their energy and talking to other coaches whenever they put a Facebook post up or social media post trying to impress people with their knowledge. And, you know, so many guys don't do that. It's literally just look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's about the client. It never was about you. And, you know, nowadays we have YouTube and everything else, and it's almost very personality driven, which I get, and it's important too as well. But, you know, very rarely do I meet a personal trainer that is obsessed with his craft. I meet a personal trainer that's obsessed with themselves, but, you know, I never meet a personal trainer that is obsessed with their craft. And, you know, when it comes to being obsessed with the craft, that means that they're doing everything they can to understand what they're actually teaching and coaching. Those coaches last. Those coaches change lives. And like I said, with the taxi knowledge, you could get some cub with a fucking personality of whatever, you know, The Mask, whatever that fucking TV show was, Jim Carrey or whatever, and comes, one likes him. And he takes a little bit of taxi knowledge and puts it out there, and the next thing he's the best thing since sliced bread. You know, that's the way the world sees things. They see it in snippets. And yes, that's marketing. Yes, that's someone getting themselves out there. And yes, they are bringing a good message. But, you know, again, that annoys me that there's a lot of guys doing a lot of great work that aren't getting the right attention for it. And, you know, the public are only going to see what's in front of them, man. And I think it's very important that, you know, the coaches that are bitching and complaining about, no, I'm not seen enough, I don't get my message out there, and their information is incorrect. Well, they're not pushing themselves hard enough to be seen, so it's your responsibility too. So there's two sides to the coin, and yeah, that's all important to consider.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that you started off by saying you don't want to sound like you're complaining, and I certainly don't want to sound like that either, but I suppose it's just making people more self-aware and keeping an open mind with who they follow and what they listen to. Like, even when I'm presenting in-house private seminars here to members, it could be a topic on goal setting, training topic, could be a nutritional topic. Even though, like, they're already invested in Doc Fitness and all we're trying to do is fine-tune things with them, I still stayed off every single seminar by saying, guys, don't take what I say 100%. Keep a massively open mind with what I say and how that applies to your life. And, you know, it makes that person a bit at ease, and it doesn't make, they don't feel like their things are just being shoved down their throat and they have to listen to that, and that's gospel, you know. So I suppose awareness is a big thing too, Phil, isn't it?
Massive.
And I suppose we touched on it a bit there, Phil, and it's nice that we can round it off with this, but we talked as well about social media. What was the word you used? Just before.
Yeah, basically false expectation, you know.
That's it.
So the amount of photo retakes, filters on photos, people that are only putting up photos of, a certain time of the year when they were in shape and putting it up all across the year and giving the perception that they're constantly in shape. Those things are going to skew the minds of the general everyday members of the public. And, it's important that they learn to filter out through stuff like that. It's extremely important.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, people beat themselves up when they see certain X, Y, or Z and compare themselves to this person, that person, and yeah, it's social media can be daunting at times when people are looking from the outside in. And Phil, one thing that I always like to round off the podcast as well, just before we finish, is what is your biggest lesson from 2016?
Probably okay. Let me think about this, because I'm going to use this as my own accountability. So, let me see. Always question why you feel a certain way at a certain period of time or in a certain circumstance. If you feel an impulse or a particular level of anxiety or whatever it may be, it could be any emotion to a particular situation at one moment, stop and ask yourself why, and what is currently going on in your own life at the moment, and why is that not enough to support degree of certainty. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
no, 100%, yeah.
If you find yourself that you react to a comment that's been made about you, look at the reaction. Why did I react like that? What am I linking that to in the past? Is that the same context now? Yes, no, no. Then why do you think it? Right, I've caught myself on. Things like that are important, because a lot of us live in the past, and a lot of us base our reactions and emotions now to current events on the past, and that always isn't the case. Yes, we can certainly most learn skills. Yes, we can most certainly, improve our knowledge and learn from our mistakes and learn from our past experiences, but that's not always going to be the best way. So we got to look at stuff like that, and that's pretty darn important.
So, to put that in a nutshell, 3 words: always question why.
Question yourself constantly. So, yeah, pretty big.
I think it was Tony Robbins that said that the quality of your questions.
I think he said something along the lines of that, but so true. And, a lot of that, stuff on self-development, it's very easy to listen to somebody or look at a quote and think, oh, it's amazing, but you got to act on that. I see so many girls, I see so many guys, I see so many young people in their 20s looking at stuff, and, what are they? They're just reading stuff and regurgitating it. They're not actually acting on it. It takes a lot of self-belief and confidence to act on a self-belief quote and actually be able to, if I'm going to share something on personal development with you guys, there's a fucking lot of depth to it. And there's a lot of mistakes to it, and there's a lot of individual circumstances, let's say, that have led to that quote or led to that particular context. And you'll see that in my social media content. If I put up a quote or a piece of text or something, there's a lot of depth to it.
Yeah, it's not just thrown out there for the sake of it.
No, and that's what a lot of people do now with social media. So they just throw stuff out for the sake of it. So I don't want to be one of those guys. I want you to always stop and look at my stuff and go, that's impacted me. That's made a difference to my day. So yeah, all's good.
I love that, Phil. Thanks for sharing that. Phil, where can people find out more about you? And we haven't even mentioned the fact that you have a podcast as well. I suppose so. The book, the podcast, and just
Phil-Graham.com, Elite Muscle Radio on iTunes, DiabeticMuscleandFitness.com, and Phil Graham on all the social medias. You'll find me easily enough. Be great to hear you guys.
I will pop all those in the show notes anyway. But
that'd be great.
Yeah, no, guys, and definitely if you're listening, just even follow Phil on Instagram mainly, because everything's linked out from there as well, and just it's nice to get those daily reminders and the quality of content he puts out there. So don't just take that for granted. Go into the show notes and follow him there. Phil, if you have any parting thoughts, now's the time to throw them out there.
I think that's pretty much everything I got to say. But for each and every one of you listening, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this, and I hope it's been valuable for you and you can use it in some way or another to help improve the quality of your life, your fitness, your body, your health, everything. So, God bless.
Fantastic, Phil. Thank you very much.
Good man. Thank you.
So guys, the show notes for this episode will be on docfitnessonline/episode 6. And again, like if you know, especially if you know any friends, family, or anybody at all that could benefit from this episode, that could benefit from Phil's work, I've Phil's book linked up over there, the podcast, everything linked up over on the show notes page of episode 6. So either share with them, text it onto them, tag them on this episode on Instagram or wherever you might be seeing it. Because this message needs to get out there more. Phil is helping thousands of people live and progress forward with diabetes and flip the perspective in their heads to show them what is possible and what they can do. So look, if you know anybody, please share it with them. But I have a little mini ask for you. Basically, I don't want these podcasts literally just to come from questions that I have in my head and that I pretend that the audience says them, which a lot of people do, believe it or not. Because I kind of want to prove to you that if you do send me in a question, it will get answered, or at least it'll get acknowledged in some form. So again, the easiest place to do that is over my Instagram page. And again, if you don't know where that is, it'll be on the show notes. The link for that is on the show notes page anyway. But again, like if you have any specific questions around anything related to the health and fitness side of things, mindset side of things, training, nutrition, whatever it is, it could be specific as hell, it could be broad as hell, please just throw me a comment over there for the future episodes. If you have any questions for Phil, follow him over on Instagram, send him a message. Because I want these episodes to be shaped from my audiences, more or less, and that way you'll get more out of them. It's as simple as that, really. And that's that. So hopefully you've enjoyed episode 6. Episode 7 is again a mystery. I'm waiting for a few guys to get back to me. I need to get my arse in gear and get a bit more consistent with these, but hopefully you enjoyed them so far if you've been listening since episode 1, and we shall chat to you soon. Bye bye.